GMAE to all of you. Good morning, afternoon, evening. My name is John Willow. Welcome to another edition of Potholes and Cadillac Dreams. A very special edition, a very happy edition. This is episode number 10. Holy cow, episode number 10. That is very cool. I am so thrilled about that, in fact, that we have come up with a special idea for this special edition. And it will be the top 10 potholes I have ever stepped in my life. The top 10 potholes I've ever stepped in my life for episode number 10. So sit back, relax, enjoy yourselves. If you're hiking, hike a little slower. If you're biking, bike a little slower. If you're just sitting in your lounge chair, as Bob Ross used to say, having an iced tea. And sit back and relax. If you're watching me on YouTube, by the way, don't I look cute? Thank you so very much. Yes, I do. Please like and subscribe. If you are on one of our many platforms through Buzzsprout, please like and subscribe. See, I'm getting better at this. Remembering this like and subscribe business. It's very important you guys like and subscribe so that I can, I don't know. I can't do anything with, no, forget it. But like and subscribe anyway, because it'll make me happy. And a happy John is a so much better entertaining John than a grumpy John. Like last week when I was sick, I was grumpy John. I mean, it was 23 minutes of just like, oh God, he's ill. I mean, well, why are we listening to this? He needs to just take some drugs and feel a little better. But I am feeling much, much better this week. I feel good. So we're going to go forward with the top 10 potholes I've ever stepped in. The number 10 would be the trip to Acapulco. Now, I've only been to Acapulco once. I was a young pup. I was about 18 years old, 19 years old, something like that. I met this wonderful woman from Alexandria, Louisiana. She was blonde. She was a lot of fun. No, we did not. But we did have a wonderful evening. We went to a club, we danced, we went out to the pool, we walked, we talked, we laughed. She was delightful, and I never saw her ever again. And I don't know why we never kept up, but we didn't. And I hope she's doing well, and I hope she's extremely happy because she was the best part of that trip. At the time, I didn't think she was the best part of the trip, but she ended up being the best part of the trip because I did something bad in Acapulco and it ended up staying with me for a little while, if you know what I'm saying. You do, don't you? Yes, you do. You know what I'm saying. Okay. Well, the challenge there was whatever I brought home with me and had to get rid of, it took a while. I know none of you know these types of things, so I know this is all, just hearsay, but having whatever it is that I had, it takes a little while to get rid of. I was dating 2 or 3 women at the time, happened to, because of the lies and prevarications and whatever that I had to tell in order to stay away from them, I ended up getting caught all over the place, and I stopped dating them all. So it was not good. The whole thing was not good. It was bad. It was 2 months of misery, and it just wasn't good. So that was my trip to Acapulco, and I remember it distinctly as if it were yesterday. The lady in Alexandria, from Alexandria, Louisiana, was the highlight, and there wasn't much else. I do not recommend Acapulco to anybody. I've been to Cancun, but that wasn't much either. So, it's no big deal. I don't need to go to Acapulco again. Don't need to go to Cancun again. But that's number 10. Number 10 is my trip to Acapulco. Number 9 is leaving Karp-Frosh in 2007. I have been with this particular law firm or its predecessor, Chaikin & Karp, both based in Washington, D.C. Been there off and on since 1993. I was a claims manager. It was a personal injury law firm. I had just come from being an adjuster with an outside adjuster with Hartford Insurance. So they hired me as a claims manager. I worked for them off and on from like 93 to 97. And then from 99 till 2002, end of 2002. And then I believe it was 2005 to 2007. The reason I left in 2007 was I had a disagreement with my friend, Jeff Rogotsky. He was my boss. For some reason, we had kind of had an informal agreement that on Fridays I would leave about 1 o'clock and go play golf. Because I would get in at 6 in the morning and stay there till 4 in the afternoon. So I had like a 10-hour day, Monday through Thursday. And then on Friday, I would get in at 6 but cut out at 1. Some strange reason, that didn't work, and he had just hired somebody new to the firm, and I guess I hadn't spent enough time helping them. As a matter of fact, I don't think I spent any time helping them. And he wrote me this letter, and I thought it was a nasty letter, and I got all pissy, and I ended up leaving Karp-Frosh, and I shouldn't have left Karp-Frosh because I was earning very, very good money at Karp-Frosh. I enjoyed Jeff. I enjoyed the work I did. I enjoyed everything. It's just my little ego got in the way of my brain, and so I ended up leaving Karp-Frosh and ended up selling copiers, Canon copiers, for a company, and I was terrible at it, and I got to stay there for a little while because of my friend Aaron, who was the sales manager there. He kept me there because he liked me. That's basically the only reason why I was able to stay there, because I wasn't that good a salesman of Canon copiers. But I was there till about February of 2008, and then in March of 2008, I moved to Bar Harbor. But it made it very, very difficult for that period of time, not being at Karp-Frosh and not making the money that I made at Karp-Frosh, and then going to this Canon copier joint out of Manassas, Virginia, and I was just awful. It was just terrible. It was. The only good part about it was working with my friend Aaron. Other than that, it was just bad. The whole thing was bad. And it ended up that that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back as far as my second marriage was concerned. So that's another thing to consider. But the good thing was I ended up in Bar Harbor because of it. But it still was a pothole, and it still was miserable, and I still was terrible at it, and it wasn't much fun. So that's number 9, is leaving Karp-Frosh in 2007. Number 8 was returning to commercial insurance in Florida when we moved here this past year. We moved here on April 8th of 2022. I got a position with a company called Randall Insurance. My boss, the chairman or the president or whatever he was, it was a very, very bad fit. He was not a nice man. I think I can say that. He wasn't very nice, and he denigrated me. And he belittled me on the phone one day. Unfortunately, he did it when my wife had come through the door to get lunch, which she never ever did. But this one particular time she did. She actually heard him and told my boss that he was a horse's ass and that the best thing that I could do is quit. So I quit that particular insurance company and tried to find another. I'm not going to say the name of the company that I went with the second time, but unfortunately, I ran into the same thing where I had a supervisor who, in my personal opinion, let's put it that way, my personal opinion was terrible, awful, should not have been a supervisor, had no clue how to supervise human beings, might be really, really good with things other than humans, but not good with humans. And I won't mention the company because I actually like the owner of the company. I think it's a good company. I think they sell a good product. I think most of their staff, most of their agents, most of their support staff are of the highest quality you could possibly imagine. They've got one supervisor that sucks. Unfortunately, that was my supervisor. So that's my personal opinion, strictly personal opinion. The supervisor might still be there. I have no clue. I'm never going to have any more dealings with them. But I can tell you that other than this particular supervisor, it is a top-notch organization. I'm just not going to mention it because it's not, it's not conducive to the story. Other than the fact that it kind of showed me that I should stay the hell out of commercial insurance in this state, because if these were two examples of what an average commercial insurance supervisor is, I just needed to stay the hell out of it. That I would much rather deal with people who are decent human beings and know how to treat their fellow employee like retail. What I'm in right now. My supervisor is terrific. I used to have her position. She's district team leader. I was a regional manager, so I understand exactly what she's going through. She has been terrific with me. She has helped me in any number of ways. Matter of fact, she was at my store yesterday giving me great constructive criticism. She and I get along extremely well. I'm very, very lucky to step from what I considered a very bad, venomous environment to this type of environment with this type of company. So that would be number 8, is returning to commercial insurance in Florida. I will never be selling commercial insurance again, which is unfortunate because I did love selling commercial insurance in Maine. Oh well. Number 7, and it saddens me to say it, but it's the Cigar Guy. The Cigar Guy Discount Tobacco, which are 2 stores, one in Springfield, one in Alexandria. They are still there as far as I know. They still have the same name on them, the Cigar Guy. The reason the stores had the Cigar Guy name is because I used to sell cigars at FedEx Field before the games, and we used to prepare the cigars for the girls. There was a group of women who would walk around the parking lot and sell cigars, and the players would come by, and LeVar Arrington, who used to be the outside linebacker for the Washington Redskins, number 56, he would always come by and say, "Hey, Cigar Guy, how are you? Hey, Cigar Guy, you got to give me a cigar, Cigar Guy." He would call me the Cigar Guy. And so that stuck, and that's what we named the stores. And it was great. I worked with a guy at my Springfield store who's still a friend of mine through Facebook, and a wonderful guy. Our stores were growing like crazy, particularly Springfield. We were stealing a lot of business from other cigar stores because we had the biggest humidor in Northern Virginia. It was a fairly decent time. I wasn't getting paid as much as I should have, but that's okay. My partner in this was a gentleman from Minneapolis, Minnesota by the name of Randy Siegel, and he and I did not get along, and it got really bad. And at one point, I just told him basically to go to hell, and I left the Cigar Guy. Again, pretty quick on the trigger, but I was pretty quick on the trigger. I shouldn't have been. But, every day we would yell at each other, and every day, it'd take me an hour or two to just calm down because he was just a miserable guy. And he did set the stores up. I'm giving him credit for that. I mean, he helped with the stores. He liked the concept. We moved forward with the concept. It's just at some point he and I just didn't start getting along. And it was tough. One of the tough things about it was that I had just installed my sister as the manager over at the Alexandria store. And I guess she stayed with Randy for a little while and then had the same challenges I did and moved on. But it's interesting, whenever I go to Virginia, there they are, the Cigar Guy, and nothing's been changed. I think Randy sold them to, I don't know. I don't know who he sold them to, but they haven't fixed anything. Last time I was in there was a couple years ago, and the carpet was just disgusting and had the same fixtures and nothing had changed. And so anyway, but yeah, it was a tough time for a while. And so I would unfortunately say the Cigar Guy. I do have, I actually have part of the sign with it was kind of a caricature of me when I had a mustache. Just imagine just me in a mustache, and I was holding a cigar and I had a baseball cap on, and I've actually put the caricature on top of the next to the sign for the Springfield store, and I actually have that somewhere. I also have a couple shirts that say the Cigar Guy on it, because I had shirts made, and they're really nice quality shirts. But that's that would be number 7, is the Cigar Guy. Number 6 was my first marriage. She is a wonderful woman. She is a terrific woman. She did so much better after me than she did with me. We were both young. We were both trying to escape something. We both wanted to get away from our families. We both were in search of something that neither one of us could provide, basically. We were young. We got married at age 21. And we weren't good for each other. I mean, she has done so much better. I think she married a teacher. She worked at a high school and then married a teacher there. And they ended up with 3 sons. And I saw a picture of them, this is a couple of years ago, where they're staying on a beach, and these kids are flat gorgeous. Holy cow. They are like model quality, good-looking kids. And her and her husband look great together. And it makes me sad, because there's no way we should have ever come close to getting married. We were so young. We were so foolish. I think she was a lot more grown up than I was. I didn't have the greatest support system by way of family. I mean, my mother and father got divorced when I was relatively young. 17, 18, 19. But there were problems. There were problems when I was a kid. I didn't know. I didn't understand. My dad was a serial cheater, and that's basically what he taught me, was how to do that. And there's no way we should have gotten married. So that is number 6, and that's a big one. And I will forever be sorry that she wasted the amount of years that she wasted with me, because they were wasted. She obviously did a lot better after that, but it was, yeah, it's sad. It's sad, but it was a pothole. I stepped in it. I got out of it. So did she, but it took us a while until we finally realized, it just wasn't going to be. Anyway, number 5 is an interesting one, because I spent so many years there, and that was moving to Arizona. I think I moved there again, trying to escape, trying to reach out for something that maybe I wasn't ready for. The lady who I moved to Arizona for, Kim Jones, is a huge friend of mine. I think one of my very best friends in the world. I mean, I think we've been friends now since February of 1986. So that's what, 96, 06, 16, that's 37 years. 37 years I've known this woman. We are very, very good friends. I miss her dearly. I wish she would come and visit us. She visited me in Maine, and she and Doreen get along really, really well. And I wish she would come to visit me in Florida, but she has not yet. We met at an all-state training in Illinois, just outside of Chicago, Illinois, for adjuster for Allstate. I ended up not staying with Allstate. She and I had a romance there in Chicago. Then we both decided that I was going to move to Arizona. So I moved to Arizona in April of 1986. Stayed in Arizona until January of 1993. By that point, Kim and I had broken up. I was going out with Lynn from Hartford. I met her when I was at Hartford Insurance as an outside claims adjuster. All kinds of stuff happened in Arizona, but I ultimately ended up going back home to Virginia. Am I thankful that I met Kim? Yes. Am I thankful that I met Lynn? Yes. Am I thankful that I met all the folks that I met in Arizona and had all the adventures I had in Arizona and saw all the things that I saw in Arizona and did all the things I did in Arizona? Yes, 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 because they ended up making me who I am today. But I can't help but think that I went to Arizona for the wrong reasons. I can't help but think that I went to Arizona at the wrong time, under the wrong circumstances, that I wasn't mentally prepared for it, that I wasn't really physically prepared for it, that I wasn't, that I wish I could explain it, other than the fact that, yes, lots of stuff happened, lots of cool things happened. I did lots of stuff. Tried to start the Willett Sports Network again, which is another thing all on its own. I spent quality time at Hartford Insurance, which was great. I spent quality time meeting amazing people like George Tanner of the Arizona News Radio Network. He was terrific. He was my mentor for the last part of the time I was there. But I can't help but think that I went for all the wrong reasons. And that maybe had I stayed in Virginia, that maybe things might have turned out a little bit different. Who knows? But I do consider it a pothole because of the challenges that I ended up having, the monetary challenges I ended up having, the skipping from job to job that I ended up having. So, yeah, it's something that I kind of regret, something I wish I hadn't done. And so that ends up being number 5. That was number 5, moving to Arizona. Number 4 was the Cigar Smoking Golfers Association, the CSGA. And let me tell you, friends and neighbors, there were moments when I was on top of the world because of the CSGA. It was a combination of cigars and golf. You have to think back to 1995, 1996 when cigars were a big fad. Big fad. And I came on this idea of doing the Cigar Smoking Golfers Association. I can tell you that my first event was at the Doubletree Hotel in Tysons Corner, Virginia. I had 125 people there, including members of Congress, including captains of industry, including top industrial folks, top financial folks, attorneys, doctors, you name it. The most amazing thing about that was that there was so much cigar smoke that we actually ended up setting out the alarms. But there was a company that I allowed to set up there who had machines that would clean the air. And within 15 minutes, everybody could come back in because their little tiny machines worked so well. They sold a boatload of these things. everybody wanted one because holy cow, it cleaned out this big giant room, this big giant dining room. It was huge. It was monstrous. Just cleaned it out in like 15, 20 minutes. So that was really cool. I got a lot of publicity from that, including there was a new cigar magazine that had just come out, and there were pictures of our event in there, and I was like for the first few first few editions, I was like the poster kid for this particular magazine. They always had our stuff in there, our locations, our events, our whatever. The problem with the CSGA, which was, I usually say challenge, but it was a problem. The problem with the CSGA was a problem with almost everything I ever tried. I ran out of money, and it ended up costing myself and my then wife Sharon a boatload of cash. I was like 50 grand in debt when we finally stopped. I had set up, I had my own line of clothing. I had my own caps, my own shirts. We sold all kinds of cigar, golf, related equipment for the course, including cigar holders for the carts and for tee boxes and for all kinds of stuff. We had we had a golf tournament. We had several other events, including a luncheon at Morton Steakhouse, which was very, very cool. That was also included in one of the cigar magazines. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it made me feel really good because we had at one time about 4,500, 5,000 members and about 25,000 mailing list. And that's one of the things that broke us, is because of all the mailing that we did. Yeah, that was my attempt, my first real attempt at a major business, and I ended up putting us about $50,000 in debt. The only thing that got us out of debt, honestly, was when my mother passed in 2005. I inherited some money from her, and that kind of put us back on an even keel, but it took a while for that to happen. In the meantime, I had tons of shirts and caps and all that mess. So yeah, the CSGA was cool. It was fun. It was a hoot, and it cost me a whole bunch of money, and it ended up not being too much fun, and I didn't do very well. So that would be number 4. Number 3, we've actually mentioned. Number 3 is, instead of majoring in political science in George Mason University, I majored in accounting. And I think, now I do say that because I majored in accounting, all these various things happened, and I ended up with my present wife, my only wife, my last wife, Doreen, and we ended up in Florida, and here we are in a beautiful home, and we got this, and blah, 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 blah. But there's always going to be a small part of me that's going to wonder what would have happened had I majored in political science, because I am a political junkie, as I mentioned before. And wouldn't it have been something if I had majored in political science? I would have had a much better grade point average, that you can rest assured of. I would have probably been doing something that I was very comfortable doing, and my whole life would have been different. So, but it's still a pothole, as far as I'm concerned, because I hated accounting. I hate accounting. I will hate accounting. I didn't get anything out of it. Every time I took a political science course, be it history or government or whatever, I got A's in them. And in accounting, I did not. So my I think my GPA was either 2.89 or 2.98, something like that. So it was close to a B, but it would have been a hell of a lot better than that, because I love poli-sci. I loved it, and I wish I had done it, and I wish I had majored in it, and I wish I had gone forward with it, and there you go. Number 2, and we're only going to cover this very, very, very briefly because I do want to have my best friend Jeff Hetrick on to give you an even better examples of how bad this was, is November 5th, 2006. It's what we refer to as the story. It is the day that I went to the Redskins Cowboys tailgate, and I consumed by myself, a full 5th of Jack Daniels. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, a full 5th of Jack Daniels. Oh, my goodness gracious. It was awful. It was terrible. It is not a long-term pothole, boys and girls. All these other ones are long-term, with deep repercussions and blah, blah, blah. This ain't no deep repercussion other than the fact that I haven't had even come close to being drunk since November 5th, 2006. I haven't even scratched the surface. No. I am a lightweight. Everybody knows I'm a lightweight. Everybody treats me like a lightweight. Everybody knows I'm going to continue to be a lightweight. Everybody knows that I have no earthly desire to either be drunk, to be around drunks, or to come close to being a drunk. It's not going to happen because I put such a hurt on my body on November 5th, 2006, that I can never, ever forget it as long as I live. It was horrible. Now, as I said before, I'm going to have Jeff Hetrick, my best friend in life, on here, and we will go through these stages of November 5th, 2006, and go through all the various stories and whatever. So, we're not going to cover that in detail, other than to tell you that November 5th, 2006, I drank a full 5th of Jack Daniels by myself in the span of 3 hours, mind you. So it wasn't a stretched out over a long period of time. It was pretty quick, and it was pretty decisive. Oh, yes, it was. So, that's number 2. Number 1, and this hurts, but it's the absolute truth. The Man's Store of Bar Harbor is number 1. And I wish I could tell you right now that was not the case, but if I were to look back on my life, the one thing that has sunk me into as big a pothole as you could possibly sink yourself into, because that pothole, ladies and gentlemen, is bankruptcy. And the Man's Store Bar Harbor put me in bankruptcy. And we, by the skin of our chinny chin chin, were able to afford the house that I'm speaking to you from right now. I mean, it was close. We had just gotten through bankruptcy. That happened in, I think, 2015, so we'd just gotten over it, had our 7 years, and were able to afford this, and now we've got pretty good credit, actually. But for 7 years, we had no credit cards. We had none of that stuff. We had debit cards, and that's all we had, period. End of sentence. If we couldn't afford to do it, we couldn't afford to do it. We had no questions about it. We couldn't have bought anything in Bar Harbor until the very end, in which case, there was nothing left to buy because everybody else had sold to folks doing, what are they called? Bed, Bath, not bed. Oh, what's it called? I can't remember. Anyway, it's not important. They're rentals. They sell them to people for rentals, and that's the deal. So it started. We opened the store on May 1st, 2008. We lost about $80,000 the first year. We lost about $75,000 the second year. We had spent thousands on renovating the place so that it looked like it looked very, very good. I'm sure you might have seen pictures of it. If you go to Facebook, if you go on Facebook and look for the Man's Store Bar Harbor, there's actually a big picture of it, and it's a beautiful, it's a really beautiful building. But It had a few challenges. A couple of the challenges were that it was a terrible location. Second of all, that it was falling apart. And third of all was it was a terrible location. And I said it twice and I meant it twice because it was an awful location and I should have known better. But be that as it may, we made some lifelong friends. My wife and I were married up there in Bar Harbor, August 9, 2010, which is one of the greatest days of my life. I am madly in love with my wife, happily, madly married in love with my wife. And that's the one good thing that came out of it. So, but in terms of potholes, I'm not really thinking of Bar Harbor as the pothole because we met lots of folks and we had lots of good times and we did lots of cool things and, you know, we did this, we did that, it was fun. But the Man Store Bar Harbor ultimately was the major pothole that I've ever stepped in and that I've ever had to, claw to get out of. And we did, and now I'm speaking to you from the house that I was finally able to buy because I clawed out of that pothole. So there you go. Those are the top 10. Those are the top 10 potholes that I have stepped in. We have gone way over this, way over 30 minutes, so I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. We're going to finish out by, of course, mentioning the fact that, would I love to talk to Debbie Bennett. After listening to this, folks, after listening to this, you've got to tell Debbie Bennett, Demi, this guy would be so much fun to talk to because he's got pothole lists a mile long, and he would love to compare it with yours, which are going to be very, very short. And if she has any potholes, it would sure be a hoot to hear how she got out of them and got to the position that she's in. Which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in case you're curious, she's like way up there in the WWE. Boy, I almost said what she did for a living. Oh, heavens. Not going to do that. That is not important and germane to the discussion. What is germane and important to the discussion is at age 16, she knew what she wanted to do, and she has gone to the pinnacle of her profession through sheer hard work and determination. And it would be fun to know how that trip went. Second one is my friend Christy Martin. Again, would love to chat with her. I know that she's had a few potholes that she's had to go through. Especially concerning her ex-husband, especially concerning a stroke that she had. But she's recuperated extremely well, and she's moved on to greater and grander things, so it would be nice to talk to her. So Demi Bennett, Christy Martin, I implore you and beseech you to get a hold of me so we can have a chat. I believe we are done. As always, thank you very, very much. Please like and subscribe if you're listening on podcasts. Please like and subscribe if you are looking at us here on YouTube. Potholes and Cadillac Dreams. I wish you all nothing but the best weekend ever. A great next week. I'm going to try, since we've brought up November 5th, 2006, I'm going to try to get Mr. Hetrick to join me next weekend so that we can go over the particulars of that day. And I believe you'll laugh. You could laugh your ass off. It's quite a possibility. Your ass could disappear because of what we're going to tell you. In the meantime, again, thank you. Like and subscribe. I appreciate you all being there, and I'll see you soon.